What's up, guys, and welcome to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. It's that time of month again for another top 10 Zeta video, and things have changed a little bit since last month, so that's why I'm doing this. Note, I rank the top 10 Zetas a little differently than other people. I rank them based on importance in the game, importance, power, usage, all of that, not necessarily just the most powerful, it's how they can benefit your team the most. I have a top 10 list here. In that list, there are two characters that have two Zetas, so you can consider it a top 12, but I round it down to the top 10. And I have an honorable mention. For the sake of time, I will only be reading the Zeta part of the abilities, and these are in no particular order. I will tell you when I'm in the top 10 and when I'm in the honorable mention, and we're going to start with the top 10 right now with Grand Admiral Thrawn and his Ebb and Flow ability. He is a great character. In my opinion, he's the best character in the game, and his ability states that there's plus 50% counter chance and plus 50% tenacity while any enemies are fractured. And whenever another Empire ally uses a special ability while Thrawn is active, if any enemies are fractured, fractured enemies lose 15% turn meter. You run him under a Palpatine lead. He's in a lot of lineups the way it is, but under a Palpatine lead, this helps. You know, you get Traya, Nihilus, Sion fractured and able to use special abilities with other Empire characters, and that fracture is going to stay on them. You were able to solo Phase 3 of the tank raid with him and the Imperial Grand Maneuver team. You'd take all his speed mods off, and you'd be able to keep the droid fractured the whole time. He's still an excellent character. This still is in the top 10 because of its usefulness in all aspects of the game. And it's great to have these Zeted because if you use him as a fleet commander, it gives him that bonus speed. So, next, we have Emperor Palpatine and his leadership ability, Emperor of the Galactic Empire. And his Zeta states that when a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. This really put a hindrance to General Kenobi in the game because he would do that mass cleanse, same with Chirrut, and we'd be gaining a bunch of turn meter. And it really has changed the dynamics of Arena in the game, and it's definitely something you should look into, especially if you're running the Sith team. Some people argue that Traya is the better leadership. Some people argue that Palpatine. I think it's Palpatine, but again, this is in the ability overall without the debuff or without the Zeta is excellent the way it is. So definitely he's in the top 10. Next, we're going with R2-D2, and I'm counting both of his abilities. Now, if you were to Zeta one ability first, it would be Number Crunch. He's not as useful in the game right now because dark side characters are the meta. But when light side becomes the meta again, in my opinion, he's always going to be a viable top arena character, and he's good in raids as well. Number Crunch states this: at the start of battle and when R2-D2 is revived, other droid, Galactic Republic, Rebel, and Resistance allies gain 10% of R2-D2's max protection, offense, max health, and potency until R2-D2 is defeated. So he's giving a boost to the other characters on the team. That is excellent, but I think another very underrated ability is the combat analysis. When R2-D2 is active, whenever a light side ally scores a critical hit, dispel all debuffs on them. This is a passive dispel. You run this with the Resistance or any team, and the ability to prevent debuffs from going up is amazing. This ability is going to be important for a very long time in this game. So, he is in the top 10 Zeta list as well. Next, we have Darth Sion. Finally more easable to achieve because he's still usable at 3 stars even in certain aspects of the game, and it would be his Lord of Pain ability. And it states that at the end of each turn, Sion inflicts pain for 3 turns on enemies who damaged him that turn. The ability to keep pain up on them lowers his cooldown to get held by hatred, and when he gets that off, he's almost unstoppable. So he is in the top 10 as well. Next is Jedi Training Rey, and her ability, hers probably the top leadership Zeta in the game because she's still viable in certain aspects of the arena. You can see one climb up there, the top 10 every once in a while. But for the Sith raid, hers is absolutely the most important. A lot of people have all 3 Zeta'd. I find the most important is the leadership ability, Inspirational Presence. And it states when a Resistance ally uses a special ability, all exposed enemies lose 5% turn meter, which can't be evaded or resisted. When a Resistance ally uses a special ability, if they aren't debuffed, reduce their cooldowns by 1. Wow. Phase 1 of the Sith raid, any phase of the Sith raid, actually, with Sith Trooper and BB-8, it's amazing. You're able to take so many more turns than any other teams because of this ability. It is definitely a Zeta you should go after. So she is in the top 10 as well. And we're going to go directly to BB-8 because of this, because BB-8 is in the top 10 as well. But if you don't have Jedi training Rey, I would not Zeta BB-8 yet. I think they go hand in hand, and you shouldn't have one without the other, and it's his role with the punches. It states when BB-8 attacks out of turn, he calls a random resistance ally to assist. Now, Jedi training Rey has the ability to call in an ally. You call in BB-8 every time, he's going to call in somebody else. You increase your damage by a ton. Great Zeta ability. It's in the top 10 as well. Next, we have Commander Luke Skywalker. He's been here for a while. I've debated on moving him out of the top 10, but he is useful in a lot of areas of the game, and especially in mid-level arena teams and stuff like that. And I don't have his leadership or other unique abilities, Zeta. I don't find them nearly as important as it binds all things unique ability. And this states whenever Luke resists a detrimental effect, he recovers 5% protection. And whenever Luke inflicts a debuff, he gains 10% turn meter, and other allies gain half that amount. This is basically a leadership ability in a unique slot. And it's not only just for rebels, it affects any characters on the field in your team. So when he's inflicting a debuff, everybody else is gaining 5% turn meter while he gains 10. It's a huge bonus, and it still is worthy of the top 10, in my opinion. Next, we're going to look at Grandmaster Yoda. His battle meditation Zeta is underrated, and it helps greatly the Bastilla-led Jedi teams that you can find at the top of Arena right now. And his battle meditation states that it gained foresight for 2 turns, plus 50% turn meter gain chance, and an additional 10% turn meter for each other living Jedi ally. What's wonderful about this is when it gives him the buffs, he can then he spreads it to everybody else on the field, all of the teammates, and you can get the ball rolling. It's in there because of that, and because Bastilla and him in the top of Arena are able to compete. And he got a rework in general, and it only made him much, much better. With Grandmaster Yoda comes Bastilla, and Bastilla's leadership ability, Initiative. This is a character that's viable at 3 or 4 stars and is run a lot like that in the arena right now. And it states that add 1 turn taunt on Jedi tank allies at the start of encounter, and add 150% tenacity with protection up. She's giving a bunch of protection and tenacity. She's forcing tanks to start at the start of the encounter, or taunt at the start of the encounter, so that you can't fracture Ezra or Grandmaster Yoda and hinder your start. And the protection up that she gives to everybody, this is a defensive wall. I don't have Jolie Bindo, leveled up yet, but I think there's going to be a better synergy than even people think right now with him. And it's definitely a character you should be farming, because when she gets in the nodes, farm her right away. Farm all of the Old Republic characters right away, because we know that she is probably going to be needed for Revan. Next is a character I don't have but wish I did, and it's Darth Traya. Our guild will be able to do it soon. I'm confident. And we're going to go over both of her abilities. This is also finishing out the top 10. And we're going to start with the Lord of Betrayal, which is the one I would Zeta first if I were you. And it states that at the start of each Sith ally's turn, Traya dispels all debuffs on them and deals damage equal to 5% of their max health for each debuff dispelled. This is like an R2 ability, but for the dark side. The ability to keep all these debuffs off of the rest of the Sith team is honestly, it's incredible. And it completely turns around the tide of the battle. This Zeta is maybe the most important in the game if you're running her in Arena. We'll also look at her leadership ability, Compassion is Weakness. And the Zeta states that when an enemy uses an ability outside of their turn, they take damage equal to 35% of their max health. That's a lot. This damage can't defeat enemies. And when an enemy gains a buff outside of their turn, they lose 50% offense until the end of their next turn. Decreasing offense, doing damage, taking away some max health. This is incredible as well. I still think Palpatine might be better, but you can't go wrong with this in the leadership either. Okay, so that rounds off the top 10. Now we're going to briefly discuss the honorable mention. And note, some of these, this was hard for me to determine. Should they be in the top 10 or not? But again, these characters are very good as well. And if you think, I want to Zeta that character before one in the top 10, go right ahead. That's fine. Because we're going to start out with Kylo Ren Unmasked. I have not had him in here before, but for the people that are the diehard First Order lovers, they put up a stink. And I'm going to say his most important ability, yes, Scarred is really good, but I think the first one to Zeta would be his leadership ability, Merciless Pursuit. And it states that you have plus 15% critical damage, plus 5 speed, plus 5% turn meter, and when a First Order ally gains a status effect, they recover 5% health and protection. You're recovering health. You're recovering protection. You're gaining speed. You're gaining critical damage. You're gaining turn meter. This is a great ability. And if more first order characters come out, I think this is going to be the leadership to run, unless they come out with Snoke, which that would be awesome, but we don't know for sure. Next, we're going to look at Raid Han. Man, he was in the top 10 for the longest time, and his ability is still amazing. It's his shoot's first ability. Plus 10% critical chance, and the first time each turn Han uses his basic attack, he attacks again, dealing 50% less damage. He attacks twice. He can deal major DPS or damage per second, and he's still a great character. And when the light side meta comes back around, maybe he will be part of it again because of his ability to stun in the first, go first and stun with his special, attack twice, do massive amounts of damage. It's still a great ability, and it actually hurt me to take him out of the top 10. Next, we're going to look at General Veers. General Veers and Finn go hand in hand because their abilities are very much the same, just one light side, one dark side. Veers' aggressive tactician unique states that recover 10% protection whenever an enemy is defeated, plus 20% offense up chance, and plus 60% per turn meter gain chance. You're recovering protection. You're gaining turn meter. You're gaining offense up. This is incredible. Him and the Imperial Trooper team is wonderful. And this is the first Zeta you should do for the dark side territory battles because he will help you run through that quite easily. Now we're going to go and find Finn. Finn, I don't have Zeta, but trust me, this is still one of the best Zetas in the game. A level 8 resistance team can take out a level 12 or gear 12, team. Because of this ability, and it states whenever a resistance ally loses foresight, they gain advantage for 2 turns, and whenever an enemy takes damage from exposed, reduce the cooldowns of all resistance allies by 1 and grant them 35% turn meter. You run him with Poe and Resistance Trooper. You keep those exposeds going. If you get it set up and run correctly, the other team won't even get to go. It's that good, and that's why it's still amazing and great in certain aspects of the game. Definitely an honorable mention. Let's see. Next, we have Assaj Ventress. You could say both of hers, yes, because the leadership is very important for Phase 4, the Sith Raid. I find Rampage most important. You have this Zeta, the tank raid can become a ton easier. Plus 75% turn meter gain chance, plus 5% offense, plus 5% critical chance, and when an ally or enemy is defeated, Assaj gains 5% max health until the end of the encounter. Gaining more offense, gaining more critical chance, gaining more max health, and turn meter. She's an unstoppable force, and she's fun to play with. And last but not least here, we're going to take a look at Darth Nihilus. I really don't have him in the honorable mention either, but I'm throwing him in here because when you use him with the Sith Triumvirate of Darth Sion and Darth Traya, his ability, Lord of Hunger, is useful because it states that at the start of each enemy turn, Nihilus inflicts health down on them for 2 turns. He's giving debuffs to the other team, which allows him to then use his Drain Force, increase their cooldowns, and decrease his Annihilate, and there she blows. That helps a lot. So that is the top 10 Zetas, plus a few honorable mention for the month of September. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the subscribe button, click the little notification bell, leave comments in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with me. Let's have a good discussion about this. I'm also going to put my Discord and Patreon page in the section below, so please check that out. Otherwise, peace out, and may the Force be with you.